There's a golden harp in heaven, I know.
A golden harp in heaven, I know.
There's a golden harp in heaven, I know.
And I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind.
There's a starry crown in heaven, I know.
A starry crown in heaven, I know.
There's a starry crown in heaven, I know.
And I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind. Good morning, CSL. We'd like to invite you to stand up for our opening song today. And we'll all sing together. And the song is There's a Good for Me and I Ought to Have It. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Centers for Spiritual Living, Rogue Valley, in partnership with Unity. It's wonderful to be with you here today on this beautiful fall day. We have a wonderful service for you scheduled for today with an incredible minister that took us through a phenomenal workshop yesterday, the leadership of CSL Rogue Valley. And it was powerful and prosperous and abundant and connecting. And he'll be providing a workshop today as well after service. So what a joy to have Reverend Eric Odell with us. And I'll give him a full introduction right before he starts the talk today. I am Rev. Michelle Ariano, co-spiritual director, with this beautiful co-spiritual director over here, Rev. Kimberly Hopkins. And we are honored to be with you today. I want to thank our beautiful practitioner, Carol White, for our wonderful meditation and holding the high watch for our service today. And our beautiful practitioner, Laura Stewart, who is also a ministerial student and a little dynamo, who will be doing the invocation and the reading for our service today. I'd like to ask you all to please turn your cell phones off for the service. And I'd also like to ask if there's anybody here for the first time, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand so we can welcome you. Yay, welcome, 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 welcome. I am going to let Rev. Kimberly say a few words, and I'm just grateful that you're all here today. Thank you.
Thanks, Rev. And welcome to all those who are watching us online, live or later. We're an inclusive, diverse, open, and affirming spiritual community. And one of our missions, our main mission really, is to uplift personal lives, to transform personal lives, and to also help create a world that works for absolutely everybody. And a lot is happening in our community. If you don't receive our newsletter, I encourage you to sign up. But for now, it's time to take our collective deep breath, relax, and prepare. Our musicians will prepare us for our invocation and reading.
Tare ture soha om tare tare. Tutare 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 ture soha om tare tare. tare ture soha Ture soha om tare tare tu tare 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 ture soha om tare 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 tu tare ture soha om tare tare tu tare ture soha
So just relaxing into the amazing vibration, the energy that's in this room, the energy that is within each and every one of us, that energy that is God. I know that there is only one power and presence. It is the ground of all being. It is moving in through and as each and every one of us. It is our voice. It is our thoughts. It is our energy. It is our mere divine presence expressing uniquely as each and every one of us. And this thing I choose to call God, and I know that God is all there is. There's absolutely no place where God is not, for it is the infinite all that exists in, through, and as each and every one of us. I know that we are all here to open our minds and our hearts to a greater awareness of our spiritual magnificence, an awareness of the spiritual magnificence of our community. Not only our spiritual community, but our community at large, as well as the magnificence of this glorious planet that we call home. It is from this conscious awareness that I declare that all is well today, that nothing is lacking, nothing is missing, everything is exactly the way it's meant to be, just the way that it is, and just the way that it is not. And it is from this conscious awareness that we move about the world, that we take what we hear today and we raise the vibration of ourselves, our families, and our lives. For we are the change makers in the world right now. It is good, and it is so good. Our time together is blessed. It is glorious. It is magnificent. For this and so much more, I am thankful as I release this into the spirit of love and the action of the law, knowing that it is done, all is well, and so it is. I am going to light our peace candle before our reading. We are lighting a candle, a flame for the light within each and every one of us. A flame for the light within our spiritual community, and the light that exists within the world. The reading today is from Science of Mind, page 159, by Ernest Holmes. In order to have faith, we must have a conviction that all is well. In order to keep faith, we must allow nothing to enter our thought, which will weaken this conviction. Faith is built up from belief, acceptance, and trust.
Whenever anything enters our thought which destroys in any degree one of these attitudes, to that extent our faith is weakened. Our mind must stay steady in its conviction that our life is some part of God, and that the Spirit is incarnated in us, each and every one of us. Not only must we have complete faith in Spirit and its ability to know and to do, but we must have complete confidence in our approach to it. We must not be lukewarm in our conviction. We must know that we know, and so it is.
Deep inside, a voice so clear, yet so far away. A dream that calls out to the heart of another way. When the knowing grows so strong, a river to the sea, every purpose of my life flowing into me. How can I live deep inside this dream awaking? How can I give of my life, myself? How can I know on this journey there's no turning back? And how can I grow from the courage of my heart? In the quiet of my mind lies the jewel of wisdom. The perfection of my heart holds the purest vision. In the stillness of my soul are the keys to freedom, showing me the way. The sweetness of my life, returning back to, oh, the bounty of this form. All I ask is the power of my joy, the essence of my truth, the expression of my heart. I open it to you. Quiet of my mind lies the jewel of wisdom. The perfection of my heart holds the purest vision. In the stillness of my soul are the keys to freedom, opening the way. Turning back, and how can I grow from the courage
Laura Berryhill and Anton Niserek. Let's give them another round of applause. Such gifts to have in our community and to provide the beautiful field of music that connects us to spirit. It is a gift. Thank you. Thank you. So I get the honor of introducing our fabulous, he is fabulous, our fabulous speaker today, Rev Eric Odell. He has been a minister for many years, and he is a manifester. He is passionate and positive and caring and creative. His bio that he gave me, he co-founded Amazing Grace Spiritual Center in Seattle, Washington in 2009 with Rev Colette Mercier. On the center's 10th anniversary, the community signed a mortgage for a beautiful 1907 Gothic craftsman church building. Eric retired from Amazing Grace in 2020 and now serves as a transitionary minister for Genesis Center for Spiritual Living in Renton, Washington. Prior to pulpit ministry, Eric was, for 14 years, the music ministry director at the Seattle Center for Spiritual Living. He has also been a theater artistic director and a professor of theater at Cornish College of the Arts. And what I can say briefly in my time that I've known Eric is he's a joy to be around, and it's contagious. And his creative way that he moves through life really removes those obstacles that we can put in the way sometimes to our magnificence of who we are as individual, creative, spiritual beings living in this world, and how we are all abundant in love and giving and wholeness and wealth and joy and happiness. And it is my honor to introduce you to Reverend Eric Odell. This is going to be fun. Rev Eric.
Happened at Renton. I was speaking for about 10 minutes, 2 minutes, and then they were like, oh, your mic's not on for the people at home. And I said, oh, we got the mic on. And I said, the first part you missed was boring. You didn't miss anything important, so it's good. The thing that's really on my heart in this moment is so much gratitude. I'm a Sunday morning worship person. I love a good church service. I really do. And I am having such a great time. The crew was very lovely to me. Laura, your reading and your prayer, I know that you are on a great path of ministry. We all know she's going to be a great minister, right? Yes. Already are one. And Anton and Laura, Om Tara. I love that piece. I'm so happy you did that piece. And as a hymn or a chant to the Holy Mother, I realize that there's something about the Holy Mother that wants to be a part of this service and a presence here today. My talk title is Everything is Going to Be All Right. And so we really need the Holy Mother energy here today. So this is what I want to talk about. And I have to say, I had this really fabulous talk planned, and then we did the workshop yesterday, and some things came up, and I sort of this morning rewrote about 2/3 of my talk to fit the occasion, and so I feel a little bit like I'm flying out of without a net, but it's good. So what's true of me is that I am by nature cheerful, optimistic, and positive. That's just my nature. I am that way, and I have learned over time that that's just my way. It's not the best way. It's certainly not the only way. There are other people who are not naturally cheerful, they're not naturally positive, and they're not naturally optimistic. And that is okay. People, I have learned in 67 years that it's actually okay for people to be really different than me. And it took me about 65 years to learn that. Okay, so, and what has happened recently, especially in the last year, has rattled me. I have been unsettled in a way I haven't felt unsettled in a long time. And I think I'm not alone in that. And you may have your own personal list of reasons why you may feel a bit rattled or a bit discouraged or anxious or worried. The three things that are really on my mind these days are America's political divide. It feels like we are really seriously split. A house divided against itself cannot stand. That's what it feels like to me. The war in Ukraine has rattled me, and the climate crisis has rattled me. And of course, we in Seattle also deal with forest fire smoke. You can't, the climate crisis is getting harder and harder to escape or deny or ignore. The U.S. and this funny thing, there is a thing called the U.S. Preventive Service Task Force. Who knew? Anyway, and they recently came out with a statement that all Americans under 65 should be tested for anxiety. And I was like, only under 65? What about me? So what I wanted to share with you is how I am coping with feeling rattled. What do I do in order to deal with this sense of deep unease? And one thing, I have a couple of points. So relax, we're not going to be here all day. So the first one is, I have found it very useful and important to maintain a balanced view. I want to give you an example. For those of you who are news junkies like me, following the news, you may remember that recently there was this fear that there was going to be a rail strike. And there was going to be a railroad strike, the railroad workers were going to be on strike, and that this was going to stop rail activities, and that this was going to interrupt the supply chain, and was going to cause this huge problem, and it was this terrible thing that was going to happen, and it came to nothing. Came to nothing. They settled, they worked it out, didn't happen. In Seattle, just as they were getting ready to start the school year, the Seattle teachers went on strike. And here's another crisis. This is a crisis. How long is school going to be out? What's going to happen with the kids? Mothers aren't going to be able to go to work. And they settled the strike in like 2 days, right? And 87% of or 66% of the teachers voted to go off strike. And I don't know if you've heard this phrase before, but it's a phrase I love very much, and it's called full catastrophe living. And this is the idea that we are constantly kept on a state of perpetual alert, which means fear and anxiety and worry because there's always some crisis coming. Do you get that sense? Yes. That it's always, and it was so real for me, like all of a sudden, the rail strike, the sky is falling. Our friend Chicken Little is speaking, okay? And it's come to nothing. And there's all these kinds of, and so that's done. No one talks about it. It's over. Maybe they mention it. And now pay attention to this. Now pay attention to that. Now pay attention to this. And I feel like that nose ring is in here, that cow nose ring that pulls you along, right? You're always being pulled along by the next crisis. Do you all know what I'm talking about? And this is not the way. This is not the way. This is why everyone under and probably over 65 needs to be tested for anxiety. This is why. Okay? Now I'm going to address these three things. So keeping a balanced view means, for me, actually noticing all the things that are going right. I am not a Pollyanna. I am positive, I'm cheerful, I am optimistic, I'm clear-eyed, I'm grounded. Okay? That is the beauty of this teaching. We do not do spiritual bypass. We don't say everything is fine. We're not Pollyannas. We are looking at the world as it is, and we are cheerful, optimistic, or at least you may not be cheerful, but I'm cheerful, optimistic, and positive. And if you're not cheerful, positive, and optimistic, good for you. So I have learned to accept people who are not like me. Okay, so this is the thing that is important, and I think that's partly why those of us who participate in spiritual community are better off. All the studies have shown that people who are involved in spirituality in an organized way in a community live longer, live happier, live healthier. So give yourselves a hand, because you're really smart by being involved in a spiritual community, especially one that is as lovely as this and is doing such a great job. And I bow to your ministers because I love them to pieces, and they dress very well, which matters to me. So, regarding America's political divide, I remember very well what it was like in 1968. I think I know I was, because it's my own life. I was 13. And my brother, who is a few years older than me, grew his hair over his ears. And you would have thought it was the end of Western civilization. My parents could not handle it. Every night at dinner, do you want to be a girl? You look like a bum. You'll never get a job. Why do you have to look messy? Why do you have to look like a hobo? I mean, they just could not handle it. They could not handle it. And there was a huge divide between older and younger, and specifically and hugely and in large part, I mean, there were all the issues, all the social issues that we are still dealing with about race and sexism and all of that other stuff. But it was also the Vietnam War. And the Vietnam War was on television every night in the news, right? And I loved this phrase, what if they had a war and no one showed up? Okay? And a lot of young people were not going to show up for this war. They didn't want to have it. So I have experienced America being extremely divided. And you know what? Life went on. Life went on. And the divide maybe is more present, is more prominent, it's pushed to the fore, and then it kind of falls back. It isn't a perpetual thing. And it is just the outpicturing of the collective human mind working things out. That's all that's going on. We have a collective race consciousness, and we have different points of view, and we're in a sometimes it's a dialogue, sometimes it's a screaming match. But the collective mind is working things out. I just finished a series for Genesis called Hot Topics. The first week I talked about abortion. The second week a practitioner talked about January 6th. Then I talked about guns. Then I talked about immigration. I just got right in it. I got right in it. And my desire was to present information that was balanced and nuanced and not tell people what to think and invite people to have a spiritual point of view and an open mind. And what I said about these issues is, these are worthy issues of struggling with. The issue of abortion is a worthy issue to struggle with, and also guns, and also immigration, and also whether our system of government, our democracy will survive. These are worth, and I said, and I've been in the pulpit for more years than I realized I would be, and I hadn't talked about hot topics like that very much, and I just said, spirituality should touch everything, and so we talked about those things. And so when I remember, oh yes, we've been to this rodeo before. and the world didn't end. That is what I mean by having a balanced view. Does that make sense? So that's my invitation to you. That's one thing that you can do. Don't let them put that bossy nose ring in your nose and lead you along from one crisis to another, because that's not the whole truth of life. Okay, so that's something I want to say about the political divide. The war in Ukraine, on the one hand, I'm sad. I'm sometimes discouraged. I'm angry. I'm irritated. I'm pissed off. I want it to go away. How can we be this far into the 21st century and here we are again? How this is so dumb. It's so stupid. It's so selfish. It's so primitive. It's such a low vibration. It's so destructive. And what encourages me is how the bulk of the world is absolutely horrified. Most people, how far we have come. Because you know where we used to be? Where we used to be is war is wonderful. And war is where men prove their masculinity. And war is the natural order. And men should kill. And you prove that you're a man if you go out and kill. And we dress up our men in beautiful, fabulous, elaborate outfits. And we put them on horses, and we give them beautiful swords, and we give them beautiful guns, and they go out and do this heroic, wonderful thing and kill people. And it's the natural order, and it's perfectly fine to go someplace and just take whatever other people have. And that goes back to the Bible, right? For a really long time, we have just thought war is just great. And we don't feel, the world apparently does not feel that way anymore. Can we be grateful? This is a positive thing. The war is horrible, but the reaction to it is very encouraging to me. And I love it that all these Russian men are fleeing to the border. Because they know it's just stupid. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's life-killing. When are we going to be over this already? So that is very encouraging to me. So that's my positive take on the war in Ukraine. And I do hope that there is justice for all the war crimes. And I just have to say this. I've been saying it a lot lately, and this is what I want to say. Karma is perfect, and no one gets away with anything. Karma is perfect, and no one gets away with anything. And there are some politicians about whom I have some very negative views. God forgive me. And when I think, are they going to get away with this? My spiritual teaching and my path reminds me that no one gets away with anything, and there are people who are creating for themselves very bad karma. And it will take them lifetimes to pay it off. And that's okay, because God is good. So the third thing, so that's about, I'm working my way through these three things. The first is America's political divide. Okay, we took care of that. And then the war in Ukraine, we took care of that. Now the climate crisis. And this is the one that really scares me. This is the one that really troubles me. This is the one where I sometimes think, I don't know if we're going to make it. God is good, but I don't know if we are. I have that thought sometimes. And I'm naturally cheerful, positive, and optimistic. And it's like, this is bad. Okay, this is bad. So what helps me here is to remember that we live in the absolute age of miracles. We live in the age of miracles. Over the last year, I developed double vision. And I was having double vision. And I wasn't dealing with it because, like many men, I just tough it out and I don't go to the doctor. Any other men know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's bad. That's why we don't live as long as they do. And so anyway, so I finally went to the doctor because I was like, brain tumor, brain tumor, brain tumor. I'm still cheerful, optimistic, and positive, but I'm thinking brain tumor. So I finally went to the doctor, and they said, oh, it's just because your right eye is a little lazy. You're getting older, and your right eye is a little lazy. And the optometrist took this little piece of plastic and held it over my eye, and it just went boop, just like that. And it's a prism. It's a prism effect. And thank God for whatever scientists or optical experts figured this out. God only knows the divine intelligence moved through them. But they put this prism effect on the lens, and it helps the eye integrate the light. And I have no double vision. Okay? Thank you, God. I don't know when they invented this. 50 years ago, I would have spent the rest of my life with double vision. And it's no fun. Right? I have so many friends, of course, I'm 67 now, so a lot of my friends are my age, and how many of them have had hip replacements, knee replacements? It's an absolute, the lame shall walk again, thank you, Jesus. For real. How many of them have had cataract surgeries? The blind shall see. And these surgeries have made it easier, they've gone quicker. I had a friend who had a knee replacement about 10 years ago, and it took way longer, much more invasive surgery. It's gotten easier and easier all the time. I'm a gay man. I lived through the AIDS crisis. They have medicines now that either prevent you from getting AIDS or help you live very well with AIDS. My husband's older brother has AIDS, and he's doing great. He's lived for years with AIDS. And there's this thing called leprosy. Now we have a cure for leprosy. It was an incurable, horrible, wasting disease. We don't have that problem anymore. They're figuring out all kinds of things all the time. All the time. Somebody had the idea, get this. Somebody had the idea that you could stand on the bottom step and the stairs would magically float you to the top of the stairs. When you think about our ancestors hundreds of years ago, like, we stand on a thing and it floats us to the top. Could we be grateful? Or we get inside a tube that has air conditioning and movies and food and fly to the other side of the world within a day. Oh, remember when a letter took 5 months to get to you from England? Yeah. Remember that? I remember that. And I want to say, there is so much good, there are so many conveniences. I mean, okay, indoor plumbing. Have you given thanks for indoor plumbing lately? Have you ever been in an outhouse? I'm not talking about a nice porta potty. I'm talking about an outhouse. How many have been in a for real outhouse? Can you be grateful for indoor plumbing? Hello. Air conditioning, central heating. I hate to be cold. I give thanks for these things. We live in the absolute age of miracles. And I believe that divine intelligence moving through us can help us solve this climate crisis. I believe that. And I want to talk about Boylan Slat. Boylan Slat is this young Dutch fellow who at the age of 16 decided that he was going to solve the problem of garbage in the oceans. You remember that we have these enormous garbage patches in the ocean. And he said, I'm going to take care of this. And he started the Ocean Cleanup Organization. And their second iteration, his goal is to clear 90% of all the plastic garbage in the ocean by 2040. And I believe that he will do it. And he started when he was only 16. And I think about what were my ambitions when I was 16, and I'm a little ashamed because they weren't that big. But the younger generation, the younger people coming behind us are serious. They're serious about this. They're taking it seriously in a way that we do not. And the people who deny climate change, I feel for them because their grandchildren are going to absolutely hate their guts for being climate deniers. But that's okay, because people can be different than me. I have learned. So these are things that I do to help me cope with those times when I am rattled. And I have great compassion for people who don't have the set point of cheerfulness that I have, because it must be just so much more difficult for them. And so I invite you to consider taking advantage of what is being offered here to help you keep your energy up, your optimism up, your outlook positive. You know, if something comes up for you as a result of this hastily reworked talk today, then that's why we have practitioners and ministers and people who will pray with you. And that's why we're having this great workshop this afternoon. Wink, wink. Okay, so there is another thing that is helpful. There's a wonderful, we did this in the workshop yesterday, and it's a piece of consciousness work from Greg Braden, which is wonderful. And it's called Releasing the 10 Obstacles to Your Good. So he has these 10 obstacles, and we're going to be working through them. But one of them is the belief in lack. It's very easy to believe in lack. It's very easy. If you have anyone here ever experienced lack, which means you didn't get what you wanted when you wanted it. Ever. It's a universal human experience. So we can be seduced. There's this phrase in older New Thought writings I love, and Ernest Holmes refers to mortal mind or material mind. And I love that. That's that animal aspect of us. We're animals as well as angels, and the animal aspect can believe there's not enough. And we have experiences where it's like, wait a minute, my piece of cake wasn't as big as my brother's piece of cake. It goes back to that. Oh, wait a minute, it's Christmas, and I didn't get that truck I wanted, but she got that dress she wanted. Like it goes back that far. And we can apply that to issues going on in our spiritual community. So, so the belief in lack can go like this. There's not enough people to have a thriving, growing church community. There's not enough money. It's too hard to recover from COVID. How are we going to face life post-COVID? There's not enough land. There's not enough buildings. There's not enough. We really just got to kind of hang in there, white-knuckle it, and just accept what we have right now. And this is the point in my talk where I am offering you a wake-up call to get over it. Get over that lack thinking, because there's how many people in the Rogue Valley? How many? Somebody knows. Yeah, there's 89,000. 1% is 891 people. Here's another one. There's a belief in a ceiling. And the ceiling plays out in community like this. We can't grow and have intimacy. Like, I like it small. Don't make me meet people I don't know. Don't make me make new friends. Don't make me make room for another person to sit next to me. Don't make me open up my heart to other people. I've got this great thing that I love, and it's working for me, and I don't want to share it with other people. Take a deep breath. Oh, boy, this room got really heavy all of a sudden. Take a deep breath. I know you're better than that. I know you have a bigger heart than that. I know that this community, these leaders, this organization, this teaching, this philosophy is for more than just you. It's for you, but it's not just for you. And it's not just for your 5 friends. And it's not just for you to be able to come to the same place, the same time, sit in the same seat, meet the same friends, hear the music you are familiar with, and get a message that generally conforms to what you've heard before and doesn't challenge you unduly. I'm like you. And I know I'm like that. And that's not your greatest good. That's not your greatest good. Your greatest good is you may have to move to a different place. You may have to sit in a different seat. That's a big one. And I'm only half kidding. You may have to make friends with people you didn't know. You may have to open your heart. You may have to do something you didn't want to do. You may have to give more. You may have more asked of you, which is an opportunity and not a pain in the butt. I get to say all this because I'm leaving this afternoon. Isn't that great? And here's the third obstacle, and that is a belief that struggle is required. And this is the thing that I really want to leave you with, so I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath and let it go. Because this is the thing I really want to say. All of that chatter up to now is leading to this. I love Jesus, and I appreciate Christianity so much. And the reason I am not a Christian is because the martyr path is not for me. Amen. It's a great path. The martyrdom path is a great path. It's a legitimate path. I have come to accept that people are different than me. And some people come here for the suffering. And it can be glorious. And there are situations where suffering is good. You can't have a great sporting event if there isn't suffering, if there isn't a challenge, if there isn't opposition, right? Suffering is great for the hero's journey. The hero of 1,000 faces. You've got to have suffering. You've got to have setbacks. It is part of the human journey, and I accept that, and that's great. And I accept that struggle is wonderful, and for me, struggle is wonderful as long as I'm having fun with it. I can have fun struggling with things, but martyrdom, I'm not here for, and I'm not up for, and I am very clear that that's why, as much as I love Jesus and preach from his teachings, I'm not a Christian. And so what I say to you, what I love about the New Thought Path is there's this phrase, and it means everything to me, and it is, learning through joy is also an option. Learning through joy is also a path. And I'm here for that. That's what I'm here for. So, as you are working through whatever it is that you are working through personally, in your relationship to the world at large, your relationship to this community, the future, the unfolding future of this community, I make that invitation to you. Can you find the joy in the unfoldment? Would you be open to the unfoldment? And if there is struggle in your life, can it be beautiful? Can it be inspiring? How do you build muscles? You struggle. Okay? Struggle is good if you're choosing it and if it's working and if it's building something. There is a difference between being informed and being hysterical. There is a difference between having convictions and losing your everlasting mind. I have a dear friend, her husband is a trumper, and he just recently lost his mind and had a hissy fit. He had been bullying her for a long time about his point of view and that she needed to have his point of view, and said, I'm going to leave and live with my son in Oklahoma. And they've been married forever, and they love each other. And she was reduced to tears, and he left the house. Fortunately, he came back later and realized that he'd just gone too far. Struggle is fine in its place, but is it everything? There is a particular political, and you've been so patient. I really am winding up. There's a particular right-wing political commentator, and I have watched exactly one of his things. And I was like, ooh, that is such a dark vision. It is so dark. I could just feel, it just felt like the lights were dimming, in the room. And, you can, and there are those who choose that. And fear is very tempting. It's very human. It's very addictive. And it is not the only option. Can we give God a hallelujah? Hallelujah. All right, I think really and truly we need to pray. You're going to give me some background music for my prayer? I love that. I want to, while they're getting set up, I want to give a shout out to the artists who created these stained glass windows. They're just incredible. I don't know how long you guys will be here with Unity, but I bless Unity and I bless that vision that created these windows because they just give me such deep joy. Oh, and I wanted to say also, there's a saying from Hinduism that is a guide for me, and I say it often. From bliss we are born, in bliss we abide, to bliss we do return. And as Edith used to say, and that's the truth. Okay, give me a little. So let's just take a moment to go dive deep within the gorgeous place of centeredness and calm and peace that is our divinity, our true self, when all the false leaves of the outer are peeled away. Let us take this moment now to go into the Sacred Heart of Hearts. And I envision myself now being enfolded in the everlasting arms of the divine. And I feel that delicious, powerful embrace of that which created me and adores me and loves me exactly as I am. And I receive that holy encouragement and protection, and know that wherever I am, on whatever plane of existence, in whatever lifetime, in whatever phase or station of life or location I am in, I am loved, I am known, I am accepted, I am blessed, I am encouraged. Whatever I am choosing, whatever I'm experiencing. And in this moment, I hear the voice of the Holy Mother and the Heavenly Father whispering to me, everything is going to be all right. Everything is going to be all right, because everything is all right right now. I have in this moment everything I need to be in the absolute bliss of being, and there is no obstacle to my good. I am pre-approved, I am supported, I am supplied. And I extend that invitation to us all to open our hearts and minds to the good that is ever present, to be willing to expand and to grow and to stand in faith for the good of the world. Yes, there is suffering, and yes, nature is cruel, but we don't have to be. And so we call for an end to war forever. And we call an end to division. We call an end to the destruction of this environment. That the presence of the human race on the planet would add to the health of the planet and not its destruction. Something bigger than us can make it so. And so we bless the divine. We bless this day. We call it good. And together we say, and so it is.
The door is open in this moment, and as I give, shall I receive. The blessings of my life are within me and around me, to share, to support, to believe. Let it flow like the river to the ocean. Let it fall like the water on the land. Let it circulate in gratitude, the bounty of my days. Let it show that Spirit is at hand. Let it flow. Let it flow. Let it flow. Let it flow. The door is open to commitment, and as I give, shall I receive. The blessings of prosperity within me and around me, to share, to support, to believe. Let it flow like the river to the ocean. Let it fall like the water on the land. Let it circulate in gratitude, the bounty of my days. Let it show that Spirit is at hand. Let it flow. Let it flow. Let it flow. Let it flow.
And what a perfect setup for the next quick part of our service. One of the spiritual practices that we teach and practice is that of conscious giving. For we know that when we give a portion of our good we're receiving to the places where we're spiritually fed, we do indeed let it flow. So I'm going to invite you to say our affirmation after me, if you would. Graciously, I give from a place of love. Knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. And so it is. Ushers are coming forward. There are envelopes if you're giving cash. You can give to either CSLRV or Unity. If you're watching online, you can go to our website, cslroguevalley.org. And thank you for your gracious giving. I want to let you know that we tithe a tenth of what we receive. Part of it goes to our home office, and we choose other organizations which share a part of our mission. So this past quarter, we've been supporting Habitat for Humanity here in the Rogue Valley, and the next quarter we will be supporting Aura, which I believe now is Options to Help Residents of Ashland. Yummy. We are indeed so blessed with our musicians. And Reverend Eric Odell, thank you once again. I'm going to bring you up here in a minute to talk about your workshop, but thank you so much, so much. So a few announcements before we break for time in the social hall for a snack and also a workshop that's coming up. So the first thing is at, I believe 12 o'clock, Reverend Eric Odell is doing a workshop. It's called You Have Superpowers, Use Them for Good. And I want you to sell this a little bit. I mean, maybe it doesn't need to be sold because you've gotten a glimpse of his power. And I'll tell you, yesterday, the workshop he did for our leadership was awesome. So what's this all about?
All I want to say is I'm kind of ambivalent about workshops. I've been to workshops. I just hate it when the presenter talks too much and I don't feel like much has happened. So the way I do workshops is we just get right into it. A lot happens and it's over before you know it. So it's going to be 90 minutes. I have some stuff for you to do and you'll be changed. It'll be good. Just come.
"90 powerful minutes." I hope you all imbibe. Coming up, we have, speaking of changing your life, we have a 5-week foundational class called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life with Rev. Michelle Ariano. Tell us a little bit about this, Rev. Michelle.
So this talk is a great segue into this class. It is a new foundations class. Change your thinking, change your life. So it's so much about our perspective and what we're focusing on. And what's fun about this class is that it's more experiential. And so we'll be meeting from 6 to 8:30 on Thursdays, starting this upcoming Thursday. Today is the last day to sign up for Early Bird, which is only $130 for the 5 weeks. And it'll be transformational. It'll be fun. And what I've been saying is it's a tune-up for us that have been in this teaching for a long time, but it's also an amazing class for people coming into this teaching. And so I welcome you all to join. Please sign up in the social hall. And we're going to continue this wave of this openness, removing the blocks, abundance in all aspects of our lives. And so I'll be here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Reverend. This is an amazing teacher. How many of you have taken a class from Rev. Michelle? Yeah, we can attest to that, right? Okay. Couple quick things. Name tags. We're growing. Some of us are coming back after having been away. Some new people are coming in. So please wear your name tags. If you have been in our community, there's a wall back there with them on. We have paper name tags if you're brand new. And if you're going to come regularly and you'd like to have a name tag, there's a list back where Nancy Clay is standing. Sign up, and periodically, as soon as we get 5 names, we print new ones. I think it's a good way for us all to get to know each other. Let's see, sign up for our newsletter. It comes out every Wednesday. It keeps you abreast of all that's happening. One more workshop I want to plug is Kathy. Would you raise your hand? Kathy Green will be teaching Radical Forgiveness again on Saturday, October 15th. Incredibly powerful workshop. A sign-up sheet, I believe, is in the social hall, Kathy? I have it. Okay. I will put it in the social hall. Finally, there's a prayer box in the back. Please feel free to request prayer. Our practitioners and ministers will pray with you. You can also do that online. I think that's it. So, yeah, Morel.
I have a public service announcement to make about Kathy Green's workshop. It is phenomenal. If anyone has had anger, sadness, resentment, any of that stuff ever in their life, I think that's myself. But I highly recommend it. It's fabulous for getting out of those business.
Okay, so we should have gotten you up here at the mic. For those watching online, if you're local, come, because Morel says it's fabulous, this forgiveness workshop. Okay, I'm going to invite our practitioners and ministers to come forward now. Remember, they're available for a quick, wonderful prayer after service. And I'm going to turn it over to our musicians once again. And let me leave you with this. May God give you the grace never to sell yourself short. Grace to risk something big for something good. Grace to remember that the world is too dangerous a place for anything but truth and too small for anything but love. Namaste, my friends.
You're welcome to stand and sing to each other with
you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being